Oh, yeah. Of course I need this. So this stays, but do you have to bring your own gavel? Is that BYOG? Is that how you use this? All right, I really should have that. I've never had a gavel.
So the head selectman take it, the chairman take it, select board, take it with him when he retires. And that's why everyone's turns over.
I'm gonna track down the gavel.
It's like the breaking of the sword, in King dies.
If I remember, for some reason I visualized plaque with a gavel.
Yeah.
And most.
Why is it called a gavel? What is that? Is that like a last word or something?
That's the job with ChatGPT.
Oh, I'll do that afterwards. Now,
Now the meeting can start.
the esteemed attendees are walking in.
Decided to change it up.
I have a brief public comment at some point. I've got to go to the meeting by 10.
We can start with you if you'd
I've
like.
got to
Sam.
bug out at 10 also for medical, so
Okay, whatever works.
regardless.
Morning.
Like to make a speech.
Morning, Dick.
Weather is good enough to be playing golf. I mean, everything inside.
This is an excellent question.
I was chatting about that a few minutes ago.
Soon enough, we'll be outside, right?
In Malden or someplace, just cancel. There's no emergency. So not parking on street parking now. So that's maybe a little premature.
Yeah, February has its ways. You guys need copies of the old minutes to review?
All here. Internalize that.
You memorized them, no?
What do they mean?
You've been studying it. You do a very nice job. Okay, so it's 9:30. We'll call the meeting to order. Sam, we'll change the order for you, so you can go first here, since you have a time crunch, so come on up.
Great weather today, so good time for a golf committee meeting. Just wanted to point out for anyone who didn't hang around for the select board meeting Tuesday evening, which was another marathon. Mark Purple in his town administrator report gave an update on golf course projects. And that's on YouTube if you guys want to go back and look at that. I can't remember exactly where it's sort of in the middle kind of thing, but you can speed play. And what he reported was that first we voted to award the contract for the T reconstruction. And in the agenda packet for the select board, there were the two bid documents there. So interesting dispersion there, one relatively attractive and one way out of sight. And so Mark commented that both organizations were groups that had worked with the town before and we would be comfortable working with. And apparently one of them wanted the job a lot more than the other did. So, and also the good news is that the T-box project and the paving work, which we also approved the contract for previously, came in at a number totaling, and I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was like $800 over what the total available funds were at this point to the committee, the golf revolving fund. And so we may have to do a little accounting maneuvering to make it all work from a timing standpoint. But I was very pleased that it looks like there's money to get both of those things done. The paving project is going to be part of the large, we've had about $1.3 million or something like that for paving lots of roads in town. And the golf driveway and parking lot was an add-on for that we eventually had money for because the paving bid was actually a little better than we expected. So we had some room to do some extra things there. So very good news. And from a timing standpoint, the paving is driven by the paving contractor's schedule, and it's not totally clear what that plan is at this point, but they claim they can work that in. for this season somehow, and it may be somehow not before the golf season starts. But again, my understanding is that can be done fairly quickly without too much disruption to the golf parking situation. But it'd be great to get that done certainly this year. So I was very encouraged, and again, Mark is much better up to speed on all those details. So you might keep touching base with him to say, what's the plan, and make sure the scheduling there works consistently with what you guys want and what the management company needs. So again, it's been a long trip, but we seem to be leaning over the finish line for both those projects, which is very encouraging. So many things can happen between now and the total completion, but at least I'm much more encouraged than I have been in the past. So thank you for your good work.
No, thank you.
So thank you for that update. So coincidentally, you can stay there. So I chatted with Mark before coming in here this morning.
Oh, good.
So we kind of covered that exact.
Did he
ground.
tell you the same story?
You guys are consistent, so you're well rehearsed, and so that both the tee boxes and the paving, he thought probably happened by April. And
Wow.
subject to some things, but
Yeah.
could happen pretty quick now. And that there's almost just the right amount of money in the account to pay for this, and so he thought that would be manageable in some ways.
Excellent. So I apologize for stealing your thunder.
No,
I
no,
didn't
no,
know
no,
that you-
and so that's all very good news. Let's have a little question about, maybe when we get closer to paving, we'll talk about striping, like, what's the striping gonna look like in the parking lot, but we can come back to that then. But then the other thing, and I forget if we all talked about this last time we met, but I did connect with Andrew Mills from CPC. Did I talk
Yes.
about that last time? So I did connect with them. And we had a very nice conversation about, the irrigation project and is it appropriate for CPC? And he thought that it probably was. And so we talked about, well, so then how does that work? And he said, well, you need a special town meeting, to approve this, whatever the logistics are.
Yeah.
So Mark and I just talked about that a little bit as well. So there'll be some more, work now to try to, work with CPC, find out when there's a special town meeting to approve, I guess, CPC, spending money on this project. And with, perhaps as early as late this year or maybe early the following spring, actually starting the sprinkler project. So,
Fantastic.
so that will be another very good outcome. So I'll follow up with Andrew Mills again.
Okay.
Mark and I talked about, we got to kind of coordinate and keep this moving along, but it seems like it's plausible that will all occur over the next 6 to 12 months.
And it's
Good,
the context of that special town meeting that you were suggesting that we take an active role in supporting that step up of CPC.
Actually, it is not clear when that's going to happen. There was discussion at the select board meeting about timing for that as well, briefly. And again, for those of you who haven't been following the school committee stuff, Algonquin is proposing I think $7 million upgrade or replacement to athletic facilities. Their stadium is sort of falling apart. The track is in such bad shape that they can't hold track meets there, and some other things are going on. So they've got a capital project that they're working on. Southborough's share would be about $3 million of that roughly, given that there's usually about a 60-40 split because of the district finance structure. And so Southborough is interested in finding a way to pay our share out of CPC funds, because at least a fair hunk of that, we believe, qualifies for CPC, which has some fairly tight requirements to it. And so we can bond that and then pay it out of CPC surcharges annually, potentially, just like we're paying for the Beals Preserve property and 84 Main Street and so forth. So the challenge there is that the state matches those CPC money, the contributions to some extent. And we have 1% surcharge now. The state allows up to 3%. If you have 1%, there is one round of matching money. The state throws X dollars in the pot, and they go to everybody who has 1% gets a proportionate share. And sadly, the more towns who participate in it, there's less money for each individual town. So we did great initially because we were one of the earlier ones in there. So our match has gone down some. But if you have 2 or 3%, you get into a second or third round of matching. And over the last 20 years, we've left almost $5 million on the table for state match by that. And we think there's another $1 million or so annually that we can get out of that if we go to 3%. So the select board and the advisory committee are both interested in upping the match or upping the contribution. And that's great if you can increase the state match. The danger is that if we actually get the extra state match and then spend it for things that we wouldn't have spent it for already, then that amounts to a tax increase for people. So you have to be careful about how you use the money, but it's a great opportunity, at least if you're careful about it, to get additional state funding for these kinds of projects. So I think that not clear to me whether this particular proposal to raise the CPC surcharge is going to make it to this town meeting. I sort of doubt it at this point, just because of the timing required to prepare for it. But that may come back in the fall town meeting potentially. And then that again makes a bigger pool, at least from CPC to work with. Not that this golf irrigation project would necessarily come out of that, incremental amount, but at least it gives more flexibility in that process. So when that shows up, if the golf committee and the golf community can show up for town meeting and support that, I think that makes the irrigation project, at least conceptually, somewhat easier to get funded there. So again, just sort of longer term, and let's watch this town meeting and see what happens.
Okay,
So
thank you for that.
all good news. I
Thank you
think.
for that description. So I'll stay in touch with Andrew Mills and we'll try to keep moving this forward and we'll see what that turns into.
You should stop by Andrew's place and collect his large bucket of golf balls at some point. He lives in the danger zone over there.
Anything else you wanted to add this
Thank
morning,
you.
Sam?
Thank you. Appreciate your accommodations.
Always nice to have you.
Excuse me, Sam,
Yes,
I have a question.
sure.
Regarding the, trying to all the appropriations, and so the special town meetings of the CPC funds, that'll be the time that the irrigation,
Probably not.
so it wouldn't come up till next year.
Wouldn't come up. Well, it's not clear. The CPC doesn't actually initiate projects. They simply review and approve an expenditure. And so I think the committee needs to stay in touch, as you're suggesting, Tony, with Andrew, and say, let's get a project in front of them and then let them opine or approve or whatever. And it's not totally clear to me exactly how that sequence.
That's what I'm checking to see whether they can be presented at the same time.
Yeah, and there's some possibility in that, I would think. Maybe. But again, working with CPP and Mark can help you with the timing for that.
Yeah.
To do it. But clearly, it would be great to have on the shelf an irrigation proposal. That
Yeah, so
they
again,
can say, here's the package, here's what we're going to ask for.
yeah, when I talked to Andrew, he sort of implied that if there was a town meeting this fall, then potentially an irrigation project could be considered then. But I'll certainly follow up with him and make sure we actually know how the logistics work to get that to happen.
And they are in some ways independent, because you could get approval for a project and they may not have the money to pay for it. And so you'd have to work the timing there, but again, it's got too many moving pieces right now to be very, very confident about how it would work. But again, having a project, a clear project that's defined with, a pitch for it and rationale and so forth, getting CPC on board with
Issues, which funds are coming from there.
Yeah, so and having it ready to go and moving through the process. And again, Mark is helpful in terms of the timing issues, and Andrew, the golf committee, I think, help communicate with people. So anyway, I'm confident that something is going to happen there that would be helpful, but just not sure of the timing.
Yeah, okay, perfect. All right, well, I'll keep you all posted. I will follow up with Andrew Mills again and see what, if anything, we or the management company has to do to be ready if a town meeting happens. So, okay. I guess we can come back to the agenda then, so we can review the minutes.
Yes, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. The minutes from January 12th. Does anyone have any comments on these minutes?
Move to approve them.
Second.
Okay. And I approve, so we've approved them. It's excellent. So course signage, is there anything new to discuss about course signage?
Well, two things, actually. First of all, if we're going to pave, that's going to impact golf course operations on a day or two. So we need to be thinking about that as we lead up to that. I've been working with the school people trying to get permission for overflow parking to be permitted in the parking lot at the school.
Yeah.
I wrote to the superintendent and the principal and explained what we're doing. They responded friendly, we'll look into this. A few weeks later, I got a note back from one of the other principals, just letting me know they were still working on this and wanted to get back to me. So that was quite considerate to let me know that we're still in the queue. I told them in my note that what we would need after we did the paving would be permission to park in there when school was not in session. It would be reflected on the sign. We would not be asking them to remove the barrier that is there. But it makes me think that if we're paving, and we have permission to park in the school parking lot, if we can then funnel golfers in front of the fire station and kind of around the building, we can still play golf that day. Otherwise, we're gonna have a problem parking cars. So that's the big news there, and I can see how that dovetails with the rest of this stuff.
Okay. Okay,
Excuse me, Bill, question. We got, you talking about signage, but, one of the things too is the signs that we've been talking about over the course. Was that stands that approved as far as language, so, because it's gonna take a bit of time.
Yeah, good point. Ira, John, and I walked the course a couple of times. We put together an inventory of what we thought needed to be there. A couple minor revisions back and forth. John sent me a list. I wrote that I thought it was okay. I think I copied you. I'm pretty sure I copied you on that as well, Ira. I don't remember that you had any objections to what
No
was proposed there. So I guess with the fact that you and I are, the three of us are okay with it, I guess that's, you're good to go.
Okay, so to make sure that they're the way you want it written.
Yeah,
And
so could you just send that out one more time so we could all just look at it one way? I don't remember what's on.
yeah, sure. I'll send it out again.
Okay,
basically just directional next to each signs, nothing.
yeah,
Nothing big.
okay,
That's
But they have-
basically what it is.
They
Okay.
have Tony's driver's license picture on them, right?
Only on the even number holes.
Oh, okay.
were we gonna change the sign, like even the signs coming into the complex there, I find it a little confusing.
See, what we're talking about here is the small stuff.
The small stuff on the
Directional
books,
stuff.
okay,
It's still open as to what we're going to look to do on a larger scale.
okay, I think that's what all right, so, okay.
So if you still want to see the list of the
No,
small
no,
stuff.
I guess I think like those first couple of signs and like the direction to the parking lot, I think those are not clear. Personally,
Those are like permanent signs, basically. They're permanent.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
Infrastructure signs.
and that's
These
still the open question, because we were trying to figure out, could we get all the pictures and do something artful?
that's right, oh, that's
And we
right,
had to back off that because there just aren't any pictures to use. So the next step is to come up with a sort of a secondary plan. And I can continue with that. It's not golf course signage per se.
Sure.
The three of
Right,
us.
that's gonna stay. That's
Right.
more or less, that's what I'm saying. They're
Yeah,
permanent.
that's right. And that's stuff that we would take.
but we could change those if we wanted. So you
But
said
I'm
that-
saying, but it's up to you. That's-
Yeah, it's up to us.
They're part of the infrastructure.
Yeah, but the larger signs get planted in the ground and they're permanent. John's stuff can be pulled up in the fall.
Yeah, no, I understand, but I'm saying the permanent ones, if we had some reason to change the language there, we could.
Yeah, we could, but we're gonna spend a lot of money to make the big signs.
Are those expensive? I have no idea.
No, I mean, you plant them in the
We're in the
ground.
town.
It's nicely finished.
Like,
We
they're
want
gonna be
something that's
permanent.
classy.
The word in this way, I just want to make sure that our signs that we talked about, and I guess the course signage is on course signs and approved by you is, and you have no problem because we don't do
Right,
changing.
that's right, that's right.
That's all. In the person, it's just basically all directions. Next one, things that might have some confusion. And then the only other thing would be the course rules sign.
For what?
The course rules sign, that's the only thing that might be permanent. So,
I don't have it with me and I don't remember. Is that on you or on us?
we had to talk about that one. Depends on how much you want to know.
Okay,
We'll do a small sign, limited things. We don't want it to be too big. The main points, on the scorecard, actually not the scorecard. But we can look into different things, put more couples on the carts themselves. Just think about different things to, make it more, because people like to sit there and read between things.
right.
You gotta keep seconds right to the point.
I'm in touch with the preferred vendor for signage to sound to the town. We had a conversation about this. I think the next step is probably to get him out here and to talk about what he can do and where, and and really size up what the sign will look like and what it'll cost. Now that we know that we're not gonna do the kinds of pictures and anything fancy, nice, but not fancy. So that's, I guess, on me and probably the members of the sign subcommittee. See nodding dissent.
The membership is ready, willing, and able.
Any other discussion on course signage? So following our agenda, off-season use, so I don't know, do we have any, you know, you were talking to someone in the rec department, so I don't know. Like what if anything we can do to help them or encourage them to have more programs?
Instead of irrigation, we should be buying our sewer machines. That's what I was thinking. That's
There you
the only, otherwise it's just a nice walking.
Oh, I mean, not off-season use, I'm sorry. So off-season use, I completely confused myself. So I don't think there's any discussion about off-season use right now. Never mind, my mistake. Course marketing, I think we're waiting for the update for the new website to go up. I guess what I was talking about was just other rec department programs. I completely confused myself there. You know, or rec department golf programs. How do we help the rec department have as many golf programs as possible? I just like, for me, I think it'd be wonderful to have as many kids play golf as possible. So maybe, I guess that's an open discussion here. I haven't, have you talked to?
I have not discussed anything that will be in season related,
In season related.
but I like
So
the idea.
they're the experts in getting people together and having equipment and stuff like that, right? And we provide the venue. So.
So maybe it's just
the
up to
push
them.
needs to come more from them to us. We know, we've made ourselves available, right?
Yeah.
They know. we're
Yeah.
available. But I think they're the ones who are in a position to try and generate demand.
Yeah. Okay,
I agree with Bill. It's, if they want it, they talk to Mr. Harrison.
it's their deal.
We'll see what your availability due to leaves and when they are available. I sometimes just don't match with what they want to what, you know.
All right, fair enough.
Times.
And that's a very important point that I hadn't thought about, to be honest. Well, there's an opportunity cost to this. If we're gonna bring them out, them, kids, whoever, and put them on the course, that means golfers aren't, regular golfers aren't gonna be good. So that cuts into your revenue opportunities and obviously cuts into the share that we then take. So we gotta consider the whole thing here, and you guys have.
And it has been
you guys
a
have-
conversation with Mr. Harrison and recreation also. So, and, you know, he's, you know, that's, I think they had one program last year, they started something and, remember? It's just,
The rec
you know,
department.
try, you know, just saying, you know, do everything, excuse me, you know, you know, not something that was very big, it's something to see what the interest was in town. And, I don't recall the outcome of it, I don't even understand. But, you know, they had approached, Mr. Harrison, and they were discussing, they did do a small program last year,
For the kids.
but not a program, it was like a day thing, or a Tuesday thing, a monthly.
I forget, what's the name of the fellow who runs the rec department? Remember, he came here once. That's all right, I'll dig that up. I'm gonna give him a call and talk about this some more. Just to encourage them to use the golf course more. That's, so I'll let you know if I learn anything.
And it's, we don't have excess equipment that they can use. It's on them to BYO, right?
Right, and there's no real large scale practice areas here, which most courses have. They have the driving range, which, you know, that helps out. We have a course where they use the driving range and the putting range. That's it. At the, what we provide is basically when they go off the count for 3 minutes or 5 minutes before they tee off. That is what it can really hold, is 3 or 4 people up there. Now you have, you know, you don't know who's up there for children, and, you know, it's, you know, I've seen kids get hit. I've seen accidents, put that up. And, you know, that's the other thing, is the liability. You know, something that is.
Because there's a net up there, right?
That's right.
For,
Yeah, 2 bay.
2 bay net. Okay. Are there any other matters that you all think we should discuss today?
I will throw out that I've been trying to get financials. These guys have been great. They delivered theirs right on time for 2022. Yesterday, they were passed to me, along with the prior years that I've been asking for. So I can now throw something together for our next meeting if you'd like, with some potential projections of, you know, what happens if we raise greens fees? What happens if, you know, membership tapers off? We're gonna build a model that we can play with and just throw different assumptions in and see what it looks like. That was the first thing that came to mind when Sam said we were $800 short. Well, how long does it take for us to accumulate $800 worth of credit against our account with you guys? Not very long. So I can have that ready next time. I'm ready.
Okay, and Mark Purple, when I was chatting with him earlier, mentioned something about audited financials he was trying to
Yeah.
gather for you. So,
Yeah, well, we have.
so he's aware. He's aware. Okay, there's no public. Anything else you guys want to talk about? When do you start like opening the course up again, or like?
Yeah, we're planning on March 15th, which is a couple of weeks early. Usually see the first one start with the good weather, but you know, as far as the sun being out and snow, yes, but more being able to talk on the way in. It's a fun time going out to play. It's the convenience thing. Yeah, that's what we need. You know, it's nice to get some grass out and at least turn it over and start getting something coming. So we're eyeballing March 15th. Could be a day too early, could be a day too late, depending on the forecast. You know, so
Not that far away.
look at certain things, and you know, and that's why we plan to get people back and staffing as well as making sure the golf course looks like it did in the end, looked very well. So you know, now you have transition periods. You have up and down weather, as we've seen. 0, then 60, now it's 60, so it's, and that's where you get the up and down. So, you know, and the last thing we want to watch out for is frost, frost, or I don't think it's that much frost in the right now, but sometimes it's that hot. Few inches, nice things, during last night. So for that, one other thing is brand new cars just came in yesterday. So
Brand new carts?
drive carts.
Drive carts.
Yeah, the regular carts. 18 brand new ones. We have to wait a year for them due to distribution, but they came in yesterday and, you know, they're brand new, so something, and they're blue, different. And, you know, these people say, hey, brand new cars. And so we can look at the, you know, I'm not sure what the fee structure is, but I think it's already.
It's a nice set of changes for the course, then all these new signs and new
Well,
cars and a new parking lot.
You do improvements, you get all the
Yeah.
improvements in, and then people don't mind paying it, because they see it, you know, it's not like they just try and pull it.
So the
That's very
blue, the blue of the parts would coordinate well with the blue of the St. Mark's T signs, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's a good point.
So in consideration with what John said, the marketing dude who was going to draft something for mysouthborough.com will draft something for mysouthborough.com for the committee's consideration in time for the next meeting.
Great.
I'll get it to you guys. And that leaves me with one other possibly premature comment, but can we come up with a next meeting date? Because I have to bug out of here at 10 o'clock on my nose.
Let's do it. In a month?
Just no more than.
Yeah, well, I'll also have the more or less a firmer opening date, so you wouldn't, it's like that.
March 9th?
I can do that.
Turns out I can't do that. So either March 2nd or the 16th.
I cannot do the 16th.
So how about March 2nd?
Works for me.
And so that's my birthday, so I hope everyone brings me something.
Nick, that's on you.
Cupcakes? Cupcakes, I would like a cupcake. Okay, March 2nd, 9 o'clock.
Yep.
I think we can adjourn. We need somebody motion for adjournment.
I moved
So
that
moved.
we adjourn. Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. Thank you very much, David.